So, okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa from Highwire Group. Marie has asked me to lead this On the Wire session today. So welcome. Thank you for being with me. I am in beautiful, sunny, but very cold today in Newcastle. So I would like to acknowledge the Awabakal people, past, present, and future, and pay my respects to them as I sit on their beautiful land in Newcastle. Wouldn't have it anywhere else. Um, so today we're going to talk about assessment scheduling. And it sounds really simple, doesn't it? Well, yeah, you just walk up, do an agenda and everything is fine. But there's a little bit more that goes into it. And I find that this piece of the puzzle often has a lot of to and fro and trying to get people in the same place at the same time on the same day on the days chosen is often more challenging than you would think. So I have a couple of slides that I'm going to go through, and I'll just share my screen with you. Oh, hang on, end slideshow. So let me do a share my screen, share, and we will do a slideshow and see if that works. Okay, can everybody see that? Yep. Okay, super. Okay, so assessment scheduling, that's why we're here. It's not as easy as we think it is. So this is kind of the 10 steps to a good assessment or audit. What we're really concerned about, and I don't necessarily think they're in the right order and that we need all of them, but it is, from a standard audit or assessment timeline. So we're looking at here, developing the timeline. That also includes assigning responsibility for actions on the day and beforehand. And then number 9, be available during what we're calling field work. So the days that we're on site, we need to make sure that the people that we have asked to be available are available for the short amount of time that we need them. So when we talk about to our teams about making themselves accessible on the day, do they think about this? Is that how we are communicating? We're under audit. No, I hope not. This is what I'd like to see when I walk into organizations is that everybody's engaged, they know why we're there, and at least they're pretending to be happy. So why do we actually talk about scheduling? So it's really part of a standardized process, and this is going to make sure that we effectively communicate the expectations of the audit, that we maintain consistent assessment quality. So we have, the standards that we need to apply across all of the organizations that we meet, but also if we have certain people that we need to talk to, and that can change from time to time, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Identifying what went wrong if something does go wrong. So I've talked on here before about I did an assessment, and during the whole scheduling discussion, there was no mention that people wouldn't be available. And when I got to the assessment, the CEO actually wasn't there for the full 3 days, and there really wasn't a whole lot of discussion around why that was. So it was a little bit awkward. Having a scheduling template allows us to automate those repetitive tasks. So that means when I say repetitive tasks, it's just the same people that we need to talk to high level across all of the organizations, including the board, the CEO, and some of the other higher level positions. It helps mitigate risk. So we've got a framework for the assessment, but we also have a framework for our scheduling so that we don't miss something. But most importantly, it's there to engage your employees so they know exactly who we're going to talk to, at what times we're going to talk to them, barring any scheduling conflicts that may arise on the day, and that they know that they're only needed for that short amount of time and it's not as scary as they might think it is. It also helps then next time that you retain that assessment process knowledge, so you have a really good idea of what you're going to be in for through your next assessment cycle, and you can document this knowledge and keep it with your assessment reports and any action planning that you may need to have. So talking about the schedule. So let me see if I can just get that up. So I've got a couple of schedules here for you to look at. This one is a standard 2-day, 2-site assessment. So this is arriving at 9, and really I'd like to meet someone on site and have them show me around the first assessment site just to get a lay of the land, you know, say hello to people, let them know while I'm there instead of just walking in and having people staring and not understanding, why is this other person walking through here, and asking lots of questions again. This first line, I do like to start with the manager, CEO, director, if possible. It just gives a really high level overview of the strategic directives of the organization, and also the way that that's being implemented throughout the organization. So the manager, CEO sits in that middle spot between the board and the staff. So this actual client has asked for morning tea with their clients or service users because of school hours. So often we might do that in the afternoon because it gives you a little bit more flavor of what's going on before you talk to clients or service users. But because this is a 2-day and they wanted it in the middle of school hours, that's all fine. Now, stakeholder interviews, I get a lot of questions about what constitute a stakeholder. So these are people that you may be in some sort of alliance with, people that you may have a referral pathway with. So you may have referral pathways into housing that you use. I generally need about 10 or 15 minutes on the phone with these people, and I understand that it's not always possible that we get them in that spot. So this is probably one of the ones that is a lot more discretionary, and being able to do that after the assessment or before the assessment or even after hours, if that's it. Now here's the most important part of the day is lunch, of course. On a really busy assessment, that's the time that we take up if we need to catch up anywhere. And then, of course, we have staff interviews. Now, we like to do those as a group because people can bounce off of each other, and they often think, oh, yeah. And it gives us a chance to see if we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. So one of a really great example of an assessment we did was up in Port Macquarie. And at that staff interview, you could just tell that each one of those staff members understood their place in the organization, not only from a service delivery, but for the strategic and operational goals that had been set by the board and the CEO. And they had a living embodiment of the values of that organization. They all spoke about how they identified themselves as a learning organization. It was just a really nice experience, and it was something that you could tell had just been enveloped and developed by all of the staff there. So that's a group interview, usually for about an hour. Some of the other people that we need to talk to obviously are finance, because there's a big finance and contracts section in the assessment itself. And this team leaders, so that could be team leaders or service coordinators, or that next line down from CEO. It's team leaders in this particular instance, but it may be service managers. So that's also as a group. And after that, I'll be looking at least 5 of the participants' client records. Now, when I say that, people are really a little bit sometimes concerned about what we're looking for, but it's not around their story as such. It's around their service delivery with you. So making sure that they have got a consent to share information form, making sure that they have been involved in a goal plan or support plan, or setting their own goals within your service. If there's been any review, if there's been an exit interview maybe, or if they've provided feedback. So it's not anything around their case notes or anything like that. Usually have a little bit of catch-up time on the first day, and for this particular one, the board would be meeting on that Monday night anyway, so I would just going to meet with the board after hours rather than trying to get people who work or are retired and minding grandchildren or playing golf to get them in during the day. So it's all about that, really about that negotiation as to what's going to work best for your organization. So on day 2, arrive at the first site. So the first service site, again, have a walk around. I'll be looking for those safety things as well, evacuation plans, fire, extinguishers, exits, things like that, but also how friendly and welcoming the place is. I went to one place where there was, I'm not kidding, probably 120 different brochures on display when you walked in the door, and it was just overwhelming to people that were seeking services anyway. I understand we want to, provide as much support as possible, but it was really overwhelming and really messy and just felt chaotic before anyone had actually even got to the front desk to speak to someone. So, what kind of charters do you have? What kind of rights information do you have that you have available for those people? Catch up there for some stakeholder interviews if not complete. Moderation and report writing. Often that will be done with the CEO or whoever the liaison is for the assessment. And then we'll provide feedback to the CEO or the liaison after lunch. And then there's a feedback session for all staff that would like to come. And we can put that on Zoom as well. So that's where you'll get your interim results. And I do like to say that I always, if I go away and have a think about it, I always grade up rather than down, because sometimes I think, oh, I've been a little bit hard there, or maybe I locked myself out in the cold like I did this morning for an hour, which wasn't very fun. So went to get a coffee, locked the door behind me. My keys are inside. So anyway, things like that happen. This next one we'll run through a little bit more quickly because this is for a 3-day, 3-site assessment. So days 2 and 3 are virtually the same. Now this organization has a lot more people for me to interview. So high level people, we're talking about CEO, board, finance, HR, WHS, risk and compliance. So again, opening tour of the site, interview with the CEO, interview with the finance manager, interview with the HR manager. So that's a separate person in this organization because it's a bit larger. Interview with IT manager only because they have a lot of IT projects going on at the moment. And cultural diversity manager. Some of you may recognize this schedule. I thought that this one was really interesting. Not everybody's going to have this position, but for me, I want to find out what's happening with this person. It's a relatively new role, so it gives me, dual purpose of interviewing not only as a management and cultural integrations, but also as a new manager coming on board into the organization. Interview with the WHS representative, catch up again. So if we go to day 2, you'll see it's pretty much exactly the same as it was for the other organization. So arrive, set up, interview with the site manager or the program director at that particular site, review 5 client records, interview staff or team leaders, again, depending on the size of the organization. And then I've got the interview with the clients there after lunch. Usually that's, morning tea or afternoon tea, because if you feed them, they will come, I found. And then on day 3, it's the same at another site, but I'm going to head back into the office, into the head office to present the feedback session to all staff because it's not too far away. So that's that. Is there any questions about the schedule at all? Anyone have any questions?
Will the schedule be available?
Yes.
To download?
Yes. So I'll put all the resources up and the recording. Probably not when we finish, but I'll have it up there by the weekend for you.
Thanks.
Okay. So planning, as I said, it's more than just dates. So when you're talking about people about planning, be specific about what people have to do and at what time you're going to need them. I would say to you when you're scheduling, don't just think about the schedule of me on site or Marie on site. Think about your documents as well. So maybe build that into the front of it. I know you're busy talking to your people about what they have to load and when. Please talk to people about any scheduling conflicts. So if something happens and, like it did last year and suddenly the world just goes mad, well, then at least we are all au fait with Zoom now. But it's when we're trying to do a 3-day, 3-site or a 4-day, 3-site schedule, and we've got multiple conflicts, it makes it very, very difficult to try and move things over and over again. And that's where I'm saying here, ensure the time frame is reasonable. So if we can't get somebody there, maybe we need to think about another time. Put scheduling in writing if necessary, not for me to do that with you, but I think if you send internal calendar invites, then you've got a double whammy there. So when we're on site, be ready. So I know that everybody does a lot of preparation before we get there, but make sure that you're ready when we get there. Ask your staff to work with us cooperatively. I'm sure that they will provide them what they need and how they need it. So let your team know that really the biggest onus on them may be an hour. So almost everybody can spare that. Select one individual to be the primary liaison. So that works really well for me. That way I'm not wondering if the CEO is the primary liaison, that's great, but that person may not be available for me to ask questions to just generally over 3 days. So if you have somebody else in mind, that's usually very handy. And make sure that we know if any outside regulatory agency inquiries. Now, for that, also, if you have recently had another audit in another space, so one of our valuable clients has just finished accreditation for out-of-home care, which is a massive, massive undertaking, and that was successful, is you can present that as evidence, and the department actually likes to see those kinds of things. And it's such a gold star if you've got other regulatory reports or audit schedules or improvements that you've made. So what will happen, and this is what we'll go over on the day when I'm there. So I'll let your team know what may be left. Maybe I haven't been able to speak to everybody on that day and I'll have to phone or Zoom them after. If there's any to-do list of things that you may not have been able to locate but know you have. And then we'll talk about when the draft report will be ready, what those turnaround times are, how any changes will be made. So you may provide something after I've given you the draft report, and that happens a lot. Or you go, no, 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 we had that, and I've just missed it. So that's all good. And then we'll talk about when we'll submit the report and what your action plan looks like after that. So for scheduling, keys to success, obviously planning, planning, planning. That's if there's a top 10 for success, 9 of them are planning. Be ready for us when we turn up. And then that makes it easy for us to wrap it up and get it done on the day. Having said that, we understand that things change. People are sick. Children get sick. Crises happen in services. So if we need to change things around on the days, that's all good. As long as we can cover off all of the requirements, that's all fine. So we are happy to be flexible as much as we can during that. And we just ask that your staff are also understand that flexibility that we may sometimes need if something's gone over. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I feel like I've talked a lot at you. Hi, now I have some people here who I didn't see before. So any other questions for me today about scheduling or concerns or fears around what that might look like for your organization? Anyone? No. Okay, so like I said, it is a lot of give and take, and sometimes we can have 3, 4, 5 different versions of a schedule before we land on something, and that may change, you know, the night before or on the day, and that's fine. But like I said, so you know, key people we need to talk to: CEO, um, the board, your WHS person, your finance manager, your HR manager, if you have one, and the team that's in charge of risk and compliance overall. So yeah. So I will load all of those up onto the website before the weekend. But if you have any other questions, please let me know. One thing I did want to mention is that someone gave us a really great suggestion to put our On the Wire calendar on the website. So we do have a plugin for the calendar. I just haven't been able to activate it yet. So I'll try and get that up as well in the next week or so. You can see what sessions are coming up. And I'll send out the meeting invites after we get the calendars up to date on our website. Also, Chelsea, our social media and content coordinator, will be loading some extra resources of um, workshops and training that Marie has done with other organizations. So there's one that's a little 10-minute grab. So we'll put that up there for you in the next couple of weeks and let you know. And also, I think she's got a bit of a longer session around communication for management teams that she's presented at another assessment. That's a really good free resource to our ASES clients that will link you to as well, so that you can see some of the other really important work that Marie's been doing around capacity building training and management mentoring. So yeah, just a little bit extra. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, I wish you all a very good afternoon and hope that that allayed another fear or question in your mind.
Okay, thanks, Lisa.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.